what we got today is what could have been Iron Man 1. I don't think I really need to give a whole intro as to who Iron Man is and, like, just the whole, like, what could have been scenario. But we're going to get straight into this, and I'm going to react to it. And I'm not a huge Iron Man fan. I love Spider-Man. Iron Man's cool, but I watched Iron Man 1 when it first came out in 2008. I went with my brother, and I was really little. And I remember walking out being like, oh, my God, this was so cool. So I'm curious, like, what could have been that movie.
It never happened, and also take a look at what could have been Tom Cruise's Iron Man. Hot off the heels of Batman, Universal Studios was eager to get into the superhero genre, and in 1990 acquired the rights to adapt Iron Man for the big screen. To direct it, they hired Stuart Gordon, known for directing the horror film Reanimator, the battle robot film Robot Jox, and hot off writing Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. The plot focused on an older Tony Stark,
which I've never seen. People have always talked about, like, oh, I love this movie, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I've never seen it. I've only heard of it. I don't think I've ever seen the DVD.
Recluse, a la Howard Hughes, in a Las Vegas penthouse following a heart attack he suffered from the stress of running Stark Industries. Eventually, Stark would be pulled out of retirement and forced to don the Iron Man armor once again, echoing Frank Miller's iconic Batman comic, The Dark Knight Returns. To play Stark, Gordon wanted an older actor like Clint Eastwood or Paul Newman. Unfortunately for Gordon, neither he nor Universal nor the writer saw eye to eye on the script. Combined with the fact that The Rocketeer, which Universal saw as a similar film, wasn't a huge hit, resulting in Universal losing their appetite to make an Iron Man film, as they would sell the movie rights to Fox in 1996.
Isn't it crazy how back in the day there was a Spider-Man movie, there was a Captain America movie, like before the 90s or in the 90s. Like, there wasn't that many superhero movies, but, like, isn't it weird that Iron Man wasn't at least one, being, like, so, like, such a mainstream superhero? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but...
Fox would then hire Jeff...
Like, maybe it's, like, the effects you would have to do for him. Like, 'cause I don't think there was, like, Transformer movies that weren't animated. Because, like, it would be really hard to do the effects of, like, the transformations and all that. So, like, maybe with Iron Man, it was the whole flying and the repulsor blast. I don't know. Maybe there is a movie out there and I just don't know about it. Like I said, I'm a Spider-Man guy.
Tar to completely rewrite the script, as he had written several acclaimed but unproduced screenplays stuck in development hell. One of these scripts, Hardwired, would eventually be produced, however, and renamed to iRobot after being heavily rewritten. Vintar agreed to write Iron Man on one condition: Stan Lee would have to co-write the story with him, which they'd have to somewhat reimagine, as the studio didn't want Stark to be a heartless weapons manufacturer. Nicolas Cage was the first to express interest in playing Stark, but he'd eventually opt to star in Tim Burton's Superman Lives instead, which would ultimately be cancelled. Tom Cruise then expressed interest in...
Did that even look right? Him dressed as fucking Superman? That didn't look good at all. Like, whose idea was that? And him as Iron Man? No. What the fuck?
Acting in the film as well as producing it, like he did on Mission Impossible. So let's dive in and find out what Tom Cruise's Iron Man would have been about. Like many 90s films grappling with how to adapt to the post-Cold War climate, the film opens with Tony deciding to take Stark Industries away from arms manufacturing now that the global threat of communism is seemingly gone. And that new direction is to save lives instead of taking them, as he develops the Rescue Redeemer armor, a search and rescue suit designed to retrieve people from emergency situations and provide medical care. However, Stark Industries Vice President Jeremy Bland wants to militarize the Redeemer and turn it into a mobile battle suit. When Stark refuses, Bland conspires with rival technologies firm Advanced Idea Mechanics, or AIM for short, to overthrow Tony and take his place. At a Stark Industries event, Stark is shot in the chest from miles away by a smart bullet that he designed, but never manufactured. To save his own life, Stark secretly crawls inside the Redeemer prototype just as a group of cybernetic villains sent from AIM arrive to steal it. As security guards rush to arrest the villains, all hell breaks loose as Stark forgoes leaving for the hospital to stay and save his guests. The result of not going to the hospital in time is that now he has to wear a metallic chest plate to keep him alive, from the bullet lodged near his heart. Following the incident, the press dubs him the Iron Man, as Stark claims the man underneath the armor was actually his bodyguard. Suspicious of Bland, Stark begins spying on his VP, which leads him to AIM, where he decides to sneak into and infiltrate the company's headquarters to learn more, in a sequence reminiscent of Mission Impossible. Once inside, Stark catches a glimpse of MODOK before his presence is detected, resulting in him being pursued by AIM's cybernetic goons.
Dude, could you have imagined if MODOK would have been done in 2008 instead of whenever fucking he was out this year? Not this year, but recently. Like, I feel like they would have made him even look better back then. But imagine if they would have made MODOK like the first villain. for like the Marvel Cinematic like universe, like versus Iron Man of all people. Like I get AIM and all that if you know what AIM is, but I don't know. That would have been crazy.
As he desperately tries to fight them off, Stark witnesses their cybernetic abilities up close as he realizes they're half human, half machine, before he narrowly manages to escape with his life. Unnerved by what he saw, Stark is inspired to create the Iron Man armor to bring down AIM. However, Pepper warns him that the board and stockholders are threatening to replace him over his refusal to sell the Redeemer armor as a military weapon. While testing the new Iron Man armor, Stark stumbles upon and stops a robbery, turning Iron Man into a celebrity and hero. Later, at a press conference, Tony unveils the Iron Man armor to ease the worries from the board and investors, but MODOK hacks into the suit with Stark inside and takes control of it, forcing Stark to fire a repulsor blast at an innocent banker, vaporizing it.
That would have been fucking cool, seeing something like that. Like him lose control of the suit himself. I don't think that's happened. I don't think I've seen Iron Man 3.
As everyone runs out of the event screaming for their lives.
So I don't know if it happened.
With Stark still in the suit, MODOK launches it into the sky. As it flies towards AIM headquarters, Stark is able to regain control of it and pilots it back to his lab. As he and MODOK fight to control the suit, Stark reaches into an electrical panel, overcharging the suit as it short circuits and falls to the floor. Still able to speak to him through the suit, MODOK invites Stark to join AIM.
Like that. That's MODOK. But like, why? He could have been done so much better, and it's just weird seeing him like with his eyes not all white, and I don't know, like this looks like fucking, what is it, Mr. Electric from Shark Boy and Lava Girl? This looks fucking so weird.
Whose goal is to accelerate the collapse of all nations.
Like you would think that like it being like recent years, he would have looked incredible. No, they just didn't care.
States using the Redeemer armor, so that AIM can unite the world under their benevolent corporate leadership, where humans and machines will live as one. Stark obviously refuses. Afterwards, with the police after him for thinking he killed the banker, Stark's forced to go into hiding, while MODOK gives bland, hidden cybernetic abilities as he assumes control of Stark Industries and hands over Stark's newest Iron Man armor to AIM. Stark then goes to Pepper for help, as the two concoct a plan. Pepper attends Bland's introductory press conference, where he introduces himself as Stark Industries' new CEO, as Pepper plants miniature devices around the room, while Tony goes to see MODOK at AIM headquarters, casually dressed and unarmed. Once more, Tony refuses MODOK's offer to join him, prompting MODOK to call him a fool for coming and basically surrendering himself. Stark, however, mocks MODOK for stealing his newest and most advanced suit, knowing MODOK couldn't resist it. As Stark holds up his arms, pieces of the suit fly through the air and assemble themselves around Stark's body, as he declares that Tony Stark died the moment that bullet pierced his heart. Now, he's the Iron Man. As MODOK's cybernetic goons rush to his defense, Iron Man destroys MODOK's chair with a repulsor blast before defeating his goons and leaving them for the police. At the same time, Pepper activates the miniature devices at the press conference just as Bland takes the stage, as he begins glitching out like a broken wind-up toy before collapsing to the ground. The film ends with Pepper being promoted to Stark's spokesperson and revealing that Tony was the victim of a hostile takeover attempt, as the final scene shows Stark in his workshop, declaring that while he knows he'll eventually die wearing the iron chest plate that keeps him alive, today is not that day. So what went wrong? While the interest between Tom Cruise and Marvel was mutual, Cruise's asking price was astronomical, and more than studios were willing to pay for him to star in a film about a then second-tier superhero. Not only that, but Marvel had also filed...
You guys heard that? Second tier. Just want you to know that Spider-Man is top tier.
...for bankruptcy in 1996, and Cruise wanted to see how that played out before committing to the project. However, it's worth noting that Cruise flirted with the project several times throughout the years. Even Jon Favreau spoke to the actor once he eventually took over the project in the mid-2000s. But again, Cruise's asking price was just too high. So what about another actor? Well, even though then Fox president Tom Rothman complimented the script, saying he didn't understand the character of Tony Stark until he read Vinter's draft, he worried that the marketplace would never be able to support all of these superhero movies, especially a C-list hero like Iron Man. Today, this
Did you guys hear that? C-list.
statement is almost laughable, considering not only the popularity of Iron Man, but the sheer
Not an Iron Man hater, by the way. I'm just saying Spider-Man's just better.
volume of superhero films produced every year. But back in the 90s, the only successful superhero franchises were DC heroes Superman and Batman, and both of those IPs were on thin ice. And while Vintar's script was pretty good for the 90s, there was a noticeable lack of action in it, as well as a character arc for Tony. Plus, Vintar's script was missing Rhodey, Jarvis, and Happy Hogan, with the cybernetic goons being given the names Whiplash, Flash, Vision, Virus, and Jigsaw, but sharing little with their comic book counterparts. Ultimately, Rothman felt there were too many superhero films in development at Fox, and Rothman didn't think they could make them all, so he sold the Iron Man movie rights to New Line Cinema, who were hot off the success of Blade, and confident they could replicate that success with Iron Man. New Line took a unique approach to developing the movie by assembling 3 screenwriters with superhero credentials and paying them to sit in a room and discuss Iron Man for a few days. These writers were David Goyer, who had just written Blade for New Line, David Hayter, who would go on to write X-Men and X2, and Mark Protosevich, who had written a canceled sequel to Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin. Following these discussions, Hayter went off to write the script, which featured Tony and his father Howard running competing companies, with Howard stealing Tony's inventions, which were meant for good, but repurposing them for warfare. Eventually, Howard turns into War Machine and aligns himself with Justin Hammer, before the film ends with father and son duking it out in their competing armor. And while New Line liked the script, even trying to land Notebook director Nick Cassavetes to helm the project, apparently New Line's founder, Bob Shea, felt Iron Man shouldn't fly, arguing he was too heavy. Then Marvel CEO Avi Arad, who had recently asked special effects artist Steve Johnson to draw up some concept art for the film, was adamant the character had to fly to stay true to the comics. Frustrated by...
Imagine an Iron Man that doesn't fly, and imagine Iron Man looking like that. Like, that looks disgusting. He looks like an alien. This looks like a Michael Bay Iron Man.
For the film, was adamant the character had to fly to stay true to the comics. Frustrated by constant studio meddling and upset that Marvel kept licensing their characters to studios for a minimal cut of box office returns, Arad would be approached by entertainment executive David Maisel, who suggested Marvel should produce their films themselves, retain 100% of the profits, and mirror the interconnected nature of the comics, allowing for crossovers and team-ups. Maisel would immediately be hired as president and chief operating officer of Marvel to execute his vision, and after New Line let the option on Iron Man expire, Marvel announced that the character would be their first independently produced feature film. And the rest, as they say, is history. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. They had me a little bit with the MODOK stuff to an extent, and then I was like, Everything else they said after that, I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm glad Iron Man 1 is what it is, and they made it the way that they did. Spider-Man will always be better than Iron Man. Don't at me.